Hey everyone, I have some stories from Reddit about service dogs and Karens. Hey everyone, I have some stories from Reddit about Karens. Let's start. What is your best entitled Karen story? I was about 10 to 11 years old, heading back from a band testing thing. Sitting in the car with one of my close friends. We ended up going to Dairy Queen. Great, I know. We walk in and start deciding what to order. So, we're standing in the semi-short line, maybe 3 people. The person currently ordering was maybe a woman in her late 40s, early 50s. She was standing there with her 3 kids. They looked about 11-ish, 8-ish and 4-ish. The 4-year-old was running around with the 8-year-old, and the 11-year-old was on their phone. This woman was trying to order a Blizzard. She was insisting to the poor worker that she didn't have a certain amount of some random item that's in the dessert, and was berating and yelling at this 20-something guy, explaining that she was a Blizzard expert and that she was going to report him to his manager and get him fired. Total Karen moment. The conversation went something along the lines of this. Guy, here are your Blizzards, ma'am. Have a good day. Karen opens Blizzard and take a bite. There aren't enough cookie crumbles in this. I need more. Guy, I'm sorry ma'am, but I'm afraid we're a bit understaffed at the moment. But if you would wait a bit more, I can make you another one. Karen, I am a paying customer. Make me another one. Guy, I'm sorry ma'am, but there are other people in the line. But I can remake it in a bit. Karen, unacceptable. I want to speak to your manager. Guy, alright, goes to get manager. OMG. Manager? What seems to be the problem? Karen, my Blizzard doesn't have enough cookie crumbles. Manager, alright, but if you would please wait a minute or 2 since we would have to remake it. Karen, why can't you just add more? Manager, well, you've already eaten part of it and it would be unhygienic. Karen, just add more. Manager, ma'am, we can't. Karen, have you ever even had a Blizzard before? Manager, yes, now ma'am, if you would just give us a couple minutes to read. Karen, because I know that they don't take long to make, and since I'm much better at making Blizzards than you, and actually know what I'm doing, you should just do what I said and ADD more cookie crumbles. Manager, I'm afraid I cannot do that. Karen, I'm leaving a bad Yelp review. Manager, now if you would step out of the way while we remake yours. 4 to 5 minutes later, guys, brings out another Blizzard. Karen, finally, opens to check for cookie crumbles. There aren't as many as there should be. But I have a Bible study group to go to, so I guess this will do. Leaves. Not too bad, nothing terrible happened. Just someone who thought they were better than people who work there. I got some sort of ice cream. I don't remember what. Love, Ace. Wow, OP that Karen. Wow, OP that's Karen. Have you ever dealt with a Karen before? Discussion. Both me and my friend who also has autism were talking about how we've dealt with a lot of Karen-like people in our lives, especially a lot of the trouble being caused by us being autistic. Karen as a term seems mudded, but definitely I feel a lot of these count. I was wondering if anyone else had this experience too. I've kinda dealt with a lot in my life. One time was with a lady at the airport attacking me for accidentally cutting in line by the stalls when I already apologized and went behind everyone when I was informed. It was a weird instance, but mainly in childhood with my teachers being very ableist in classic Karens. My main ones I can remember was my second grade, third and fourth grade teachers. Second grade teacher was a major bully to autistic kids in math class, especially my friend who needed more assistance, only to get screamed at and ending up crying in front of everyone. My third grade teacher, Mrs. Peso, was a peak Karen with how miserable this woman was with how she treated these kids so strictly. But she demanded my mother to come to a conference in person after dealing with surgery for her breast cancer. Skull. My mom was a force of nature, so she ripped into her for refusing to do the meeting on the phone like she asked, and then acting shocked when she walked in with bandages. I also dealt with my art teacher, Mrs. Lebenstein. She at first didn't seem to have these traits. I actually really liked her and her class at first. Dressed up in a fancy outfit with themed earrings, along with the classroom actually being an art studio, and getting story time. What ruined it was we were supposed to do a chalk drawing for Vincent van Gogh, which freaked me out as chalk was a big trigger for my sensory overload. I told her I couldn't do it with chalk because my skin gets really bad goosebumps. A teacher could approach this two ways. Offer an alternative like crayons or pencils. I was given that by other teachers who understood. Or just give me a bad grade then move on. But anything would have been better. Instead, she forcefully grabbed both of my hands to try to get me to draw with the chalk. Loudly crying face, I ended up a sobbing mess from the texture of the chalk with being grabbed by an adult. The only part I got done was the moon, but it was a mess. Then, this bitch made me take the drawing home as punishment for my defiance. Skull. My mom understood, so I wasn't in trouble at all. That still pisses me off. Keep your hands to yourself with children. If any of y'all got similar stories, I'd love to hear them if you want to share. Now some comments. I think lots of people turn into Karens when they learn someone has autism. I had an MD turn into a Karen and tell me that I didn't have 2 medical issues I had when I went in for exam because the symptoms were getting worse. Yes, a male Karen didn't even examine me. He just told me I didn't have those healthcare issues. In the 3 months that followed, I confirmed I had those issues with specialists. One would have resulted in my death in 3-4 years. Instead, it was a quick 45-minute procedure and I am good. For some reason, autism brings out superiority complexes in many people. I don't tell people I have autism anymore. My spouse knows, my child does, they also have autism, and a mentor from grad school knows. Healthcare professionals are not exempt from this. My medication specialist for ADHD knows, she's also ND, but nobody else knows I am in contact with. Sometimes you don't have this option. Teachers and MDs are the worst though. Wow. Karen aunt strikes again. Karen, if anyone has seen my previous post about my aunt, who has been confirmed by the sub to be a Karen, I'm happy to inform you I've got another recent outburst story. So, I recently went on a camping trip, more like a glamping trip if I'm being honest, with some family. I spent most of the week doing laundry and sorting my art supplies, so I had all that I wanted for the trip packed. And by the time the day we left arrived, I already had my things in the family RV. My aunt, on the other hand, did not have everything ready to go. In fact, She spent the last night before the trip stuffing her things into her duffel bag and packed everything into the RV on the morning we left. So, we were bringing one of our 3 dogs with us. This dog is fairly big, but not hard to control as long as you're keeping an eye on him. My aunt got a leash that connects to a belt thing that goes around your waist so you don't have to hold it all the time. And since getting it, she refuses to walk this particular dog without it, despite the fact that, as I mentioned before, a normal leash works just fine since he's really not that hard to control. Now, as everyone was getting ready to go and packing the final few things, who should appear with an angry look on her face? Auntie Karen. She began to shout about how she couldn't find the belt part of the fancy leash she got for the dog, and made everyone look for it. Of course, she was throwing a tantrum, I kid you not, crying and stomping her feet, yelling about how all the things she pays for, or my Nana pays for her, are the things that other people lose, and started blaming everyone else for misplacing it. At some point she started refusing to go on the trip with us, saying she wasn't going to leave home without it. Keep in mind now, this woman is about 33-year-old throwing a fit about a dog leash. We have plenty of other dog leashes that have worked just fine in the past, and yet she insists on finding this one. Eventually someone finally convinces her to just get in the RV so we can leave, and she continues her tantrum in the back until we reach the first rest stop on the trip. While there, she takes the dog out to go to the bathroom on the normal leash with no problem, but continues whining about how she doesn't have the other leash. It got to a point where my grandpa just snapped and said he'd find a pet store in the next city we passed through. To put an end to the story, we did just that and stopped by a pet store, getting another one of those fancy leashes for the dog to finally shut my aunt up. Also, bonus story, she also got angry at me for asking her not to use one of my only fishing lures since she always loses them. That one isn't so extreme, but it's an honorable mention. I fly fish, so I don't normally use lures unless I'm going off of my kayak and use a spinner rod, so I don't have a lot of them. Anyway, TLDR, Aunt throws tantrum over special dog leash despite the fact that a normal dog leash works just fine. Bonus story, TLDR, Aunt throws a tantrum over a fishing lure that doesn't belong to her too. Trying not to be a Karen, but I'm so frustrated. Pharmacy rent, please help. Emotional regulation and rejection sensitivity. Okay, I just need someone to tell me if I'm overreacting here. I know that the customer service industry is going through some shortages with staffing issues, which is why I'm trying so hard to not be a rude customer. This is my 3rd month on ADHD meds, and my doctor switched my meds for this month. Last week I was told to stop Concerta and start with Adderall XR. So I called the pharmacy when they first opened, CVS, to fill my script, and the tech told me it will be ready to pick up by the afternoon. At around 4 p.m. I go to CVS to pick up my meds, and the lady told me it isn't ready yet since she's extra busy and can't work on my script yet. So I asked when it will be filled, and she said another 2 hours. So I go back home and I received a call from their pharmacy. The pharmacist told me they won't be able to fill it because of the fill by date 5 days too early. I said fine and went home. I had a few more Concerta left, so I used that for the time being. So fast forward to today, and I call when they first opened to try and fill my script again since it's the day that I can fill it. Well, she told me that it won't be ready till tonight, and I asked if I can get it filled in the afternoon since I will be out of town for 2 days. She proceeds to tell me that they are too busy and they have others that needs to be filled before mine. So I asked if I could just come inside and wait. She says yes, but the meds aren't in stock, and their next shipment won't be till next week. I apologized to her for me being so annoying, but I stood my ground and explained that the script was sent last week and it hasn't even been a priority to fill today. I told her I'll call my doctor to switch my script to another pharmacy and hung up. Was I being a Karen or being rude? I have issues when it comes to conflicts, and I hate being rude to people just doing their jobs, but it's upsetting that I would have never found out if the meds were in stock if I never pushed meds to be filled. Anyone having the same issues? New. No, oh. The worst part about being diagnosed: seeking empathy. I think the worst thing about being diagnosed was the response I got from adults in my life. I was recently diagnosed at 22 years old, and the first thing my stepmom said to me was, "I could have told you that. I've known that since the day I met you. So, why didn't you say anything?" When your daughter was diagnosed at a young age and put on medication, she just used it as an excuse to make fun of my hyperactivity and how fast I always talked. It was always, "You need to slow down. I can barely understand you. LOL, and never, 'Hey,